Hi, this is Alessio, Rastani, leading trader. Hope you're well. I just want to do a very quick update here on the Bitcoin situation and show you what I'm seeing here on the chart. Now, before I come back to this chart, I want to show you first of all this chart here. So as you can see here, Bitcoin had the massive rally as I talked about in the last video. And of course, I'm sure you're aware of it. There it is. So that's the big massive rally we saw in the last few days. And there it is. It's gone now above the 55 EMA, that purple line on my chart. Now, here's an interesting situation here I want to bring to your attention. So if we just focus on that chart there, you will notice that Bitcoin went into its RSI overbought zone right there. So when Bitcoin had this massive, incredible rally here, it became overbought on the RSI. The setting here on the RSI is setting of 2 and 95.5, setting of 2, 95.5 on the overbought, oversold levels. And I find this to be very helpful and very useful, as I'll explain to you in just a few moments. Now, also you will notice apart from the overbought zone on the RSI, on my other indicator here, which is the Sigma chart, that's the indicator I created some years ago. It's one of our own indicators called LT Sigma. Now, obviously, I don't have time to go into the exact meaning and the interpretation of this Sigma chart here and what the different colors mean. But just to put it very simply, what this indicator does, it shows to you the extremely overbought and extremely oversold levels on the market, okay? And the way I use this, and by the way, just to let you know that Sigma is a mathematical computation. It's an actual mathematical term. And again, I'll do another video on this separately. I don't have time for it right now. But it's a very useful and a very powerful indicator when used. Now, what essentially is happening here is that Bitcoin, on the day it had the massive rally, as you'll see right there. Let me turn this to a blue arrow, as you can see there. So notice that Bitcoin entered into the extremely overbought red zone, and that red zone essentially in mathematical terms and according to the laws of probability has become extremely overbought, or indeed extended, overextended in other words. There's only one problem here, in that normally when price enters the extremely overbought, extremely oversold levels, for example, on the Sigma, we usually see a strong bounce. For example, you will see here that Bitcoin dropped into its extremely oversold, or indeed overextended zone, and immediately was followed by a bounce higher, as you can see there. Normally what happens is when price gets into the extremely overbought levels here, we usually see a pullback. Usually there's a pullback, not necessarily a deep pullback, but a pullback to the blue zone, to the safe zone, okay? In other words, a pullback to the averages, to the mean, all right? Of course, that has not happened. Now, you'll see also the same thing with the RSI. So as I just showed you, price goes into the extremely overbought RSI, again, the setting of 2, and notice that price has not reacted. Usually in a situation like this, price goes into the RSI overbought, and normally this is followed by a pullback. Again, by a pullback, I'm just talking about a reversion back to the mean, a reversion back to the averages, like the 8 to the 21 moving averages. It has not done that. In fact, if anything, what the price of Bitcoin has done is to ignore its overbought signals, both on the RSI and also on the Sigma. So just to give you an example of what I'm talking about here is notice that some months ago when Bitcoin went to its extremely overbought RSI, notice that it quickly was followed by a pullback. Bitcoin again became extremely overbought on the RSI, and notice it was quickly followed by a drop or indeed a pullback. The fact is, it has not done that on this occasion. And by the way, there have been other occasions, for example, when Bitcoin has ignored its RSI and indeed its Sigma oversold, overbought levels. What does it mean though? So the question is, what does it mean when Bitcoin, or indeed when the price ignores its overbought levels or oversold levels, okay? Now, an amateur investor would say, well, it probably means that the indicator is not working. No, that is not the right answer. That is an incorrect answer. No, it's giving you information. Think about it, guys. Let me ask you this question. If Bitcoin goes into its RSI overbought levels, as we can see it's happened there, and it's not quickly followed by a pullback, and again, same thing with the Sigma, became extremely overbought, but has not pulled back. What is that telling you? It's giving you a massive piece of information, is it not? Just have a think about that. The information it's giving you is that, number one, the momentum on this move is not done yet. In other words, there is probably more momentum behind this upward move. Because here's the thing, if it was going to have a pullback, It should have done this by now. Price usually becomes overbought on the RSI and also on the Sigma. And usually it's quickly or indeed immediately followed by some kind of pullback, a reversion back to the mean, okay, back to the averages. It has not done that. In fact, if anything, it's ignored the overbought signals. And what this is telling us is that there's still more momentum. In colloquial terms, it means there's probably more juice behind this move, more energy. All right, guys. So that's what I think is happening here. The fact that price is ignoring the overbought signals on the RSI and also on the Sigma, that tells me, in fact, there's positive news for Bitcoin traders. The good news is that there's probably more momentum behind this upward move, and we're not done yet on this move. In other words, on the balance of probabilities, here's what I think is likely. I would give this right now about a 30 to 40% probability of a pullback. So again, a lower probability. So I think the probability of a pullback right now is about, so a pullback to the averages, on the balance of probability is about 30 to 40%. Not very high. But on the balance of probabilities, the more likely move, the higher probability move, is that we're going to see, again, I'm talking about 70 to 65%, is that we're going to probably see a move, a grind higher to test the 100 EMA. And that's the orange line on my chart there. Okay. And again, remember, the job of a professional trader, investor, or analyst is indeed to assess the probabilities, not certainties. There are no certainties. And of course, not possibilities. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about in the in-between. The in-between possibility and in-between certainty, there is the probability. By the way, some people have asked me on social media, is it possible that this particular move on Bitcoin is nothing more than a bull trap? In other words, is it possible that in fact this move is not really the reversal or an uptrend, but actually is just a bull trap that is just going to end up in disaster? It's going to continue falling back down again. I will discuss that in a separate video for you probably on Sunday. All right, guys. And by the way, guys, just to let you know that I go into much more detail about Bitcoin and of course crypto markets, Dash, Ethereum, Litecoin, and probably another crypto as well in the premium video updates. So there's a lot more analysis and there's a lot more information for you in the premium videos that I do on the Sunday crypto report. By the way, just one more thing, guys, which is that I've received a lot of great comments from you. Thank you very much for your great comments. I really appreciate your feedback. But there's one thing I want to tell you, which is quite important. All the comments that are from me, you will notice them when my name is highlighted in a black box. You can see it's a grayish box and it's highlighted. That's how you know this is a genuine comment from me. Because there is right now a bunch of very sick people who are basically imitating me. They're impersonating me and they're putting comments on your comments, all right, guys? So just be careful. Some of the comments you might see on YouTube are not from me. And you'll know it's not from me because it's not highlighted. It will not come inside this kind of highlighted box. That is a genuine comment. That's actually a comment from me, as you can see there. So again, it comes highlighted like that. So if it's not highlighted, it's probably not from me. All right, guys, just be very careful. So if you see any kind of messages that is unsolicited, that you did not request for coming from me, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitter, YouTube, all right, guys, just be careful. All right, guys. Thanks very much indeed. Bye for now.